So what the heck is a chef like yourself playing at shopkeeping for?
Well, it's shopkeeping and food makers. So I spent probably 2.5 years plus working with the great guys in Bradford, Morrison's. Yeah, hatching a plan. I suppose I became the excuse. I'm trying to think of the name for the person that kind of stirs up trouble and debate and thinking.
You're a troublemaker.
Yes, but there's probably some modern kind of management word for whatever that is. But
now, we've all seen, obviously, we've featured a lot of retailers in Shop Talk Live over the last 30 editions. You've watched some of them, John, I know. One of the retailers that really got a lot of interest and attention was Morrison's. That store in Manchester, you know, a lot of us have been there, admired it. I mean, it was a bit of a game changer, wasn't it? And you know, I know you've had something to do with that.
Well, for me, it wasn't really a game changer because I wasn't I don't mean this rudely, I wasn't bogged down with the retail supermarket thing. My experience of retail supermarket was going in and shopping and, you know, all the rest of it. So becoming a member of that team and becoming the catalyst for change. Imagine two lumps of pastry. One of them is the retail supermarket and the other one is the food service, hospitality, catering. Mashing those two together because both do food, but you know one does it in a very different way to the guys with the tin cans and the fresh bread on the high street. So it was the pushing the things together. So for me, it wasn't anything. Well, was it something new? Yes, and it was a risk. But I have to say, and I mean this, and no one pays me. I have to admire that those guys took it. Eventually, after the bit of bickering and the arguing, and you know which one does, because we're from. You know, what was the name of the guy that first put his foot on the moon?
Neil Armstrong.
So imagine that the catering food service, I was in my spaceship and I landed in the world of retail supermarkets and I put my foot out.
That's a good analogy.
You know, so that was how I kind of felt. But, fantastic.
Let's just put ourselves in the customer's perspective, if you like. You walk into that Manchester store and immediately there's these flames. This flame grill on the other side that captivates you, doesn't it? And you can smell the flavours. All that food is cooking. So, is that your sort of experience and if you like the world of being a chef and food creation, converging with a supermarket? Because I've never seen anything quite like that.
The most successful businesses that happen within catering, food service, whatever you want to call it, are run by dictators, but nice ones. So I don't apologise for being a dictator, but I was working with massive, huge beast of a business that are very good at what they do. So I was there to influence, to kick, to shove, to push, to kick, to cuddle, to get their psyche to begin to understand myself and the industry I'm from, if that makes sense. So it wasn't no good of going in and saying, this is a pot of paint, this is how it's going to be. You had to take everybody along on the journey because half of what retail supermarkets do is amazing and half of it's not. And the same within my home industry. Half of it's brilliant and half of it isn't. So mashing the two together was
I've been in the retail side of the industry for a long time and I've seen a number of supermarkets really understanding there was a big opportunity here with food and understanding where they wanted to get to, but really finding the journey, a cultural journey perhaps, really tough. I mean, Morrison's, I think, with this store have taken that leap and look successful, in terms of what they was it a very tough journey for them? That's an interesting question.
Well, there was only one of me and there's thousands of them. So when I just say it as it is. What you learn within food consultancy is if you string people along, you get discovered. So when I first sat down with my moustache and sunglasses on at the back of a cafe and we talked about what they were kind of thinking of and my own input, I was on about the fact it's tough and it's hard and it's low margins and it's bloody sweat and tears and you can't half do it. So I really tried to put these guys off this whole thing and told them the benefits and the whole thing. But I saw the vision. To me, the way I see the market, I don't get this kind of segregation. Imagine a football pitch that's got cages in it, where you can't go from one side to the other side. The customers doesn't want to know all about what's retail, what's food and beverage, what's this and what. They just want an experience. So the great thing about the Morrison's guys, they looked at wholesale, they looked at the whole thing and thought, let's smash the barriers down so you can see the boundaries changing. It's all about the customer and what they want, not necessarily these artificial barriers and fences and walls that we build within all the industries.
I think that's a good way of putting it. And do you think, I mean, is there a bigger opportunity right now? Obviously, we're all coming out of a pandemic globally. The consumer is often in a different place.
Yes.
Literally, geographically, in terms of what they want. Do you think there's a bigger opportunity in this space than ever?
Definitely. Since my time with Morrison's, and respect to those guys, I put forward to David Potts and the team two grills, if I can put it. And I put one, the nice, safe electric one, and I then put the fire-breathing one with the coals and the whole thing. And I'm thinking, this is going to be the indicator to, are you really committed? 1 to 10, which button are you going to press? And actually, they went for the very safe but fantastic looking. It's real fresh meat. It's aged. It's marinated, and it's grilled in front of you. This isn't a kind of 2 pieces of plastic and some frozen thing out of a box. We took, and I don't apologise for this. We took hundreds of chefs off the market who, in the middle of furlough, had no jobs, and they took, because So what I'm trying to say is the toughest thing for me was to get the ethos. Wear the badge saying, I'm committed, I'm a real foodie. Or put a sign on your badge saying, I'm not really bothered. But the Morrison's guys, they went for it.
Looking at smaller stores, convenience retail, and we feature a lot of convenience stores in this programme, what do you think some of the challenges are with actually trying to take some of that and putting it into a smaller unit? Okay,
right. So you probably come out with 50 different mini concepts within the big brand. And you say, when we're in Blackburn, we have those 5, and we've got our corner shop, we're going to have 2, and when it's a petrol station, we'll have 2.5. So you adapt it to wherever. And obviously, if I'm in the middle of Putney, and having worked there, good old Fulham, the eating habits are slightly different to when you get into Sheffield or you're into Inverness. So you've got to adapt that and have different offerings. And if you're by the sea, obviously, I'm not saying it's kind of jelly and ice cream and fish and chips, but it's adapting it to the region, isn't it? And the space and the whole thing. So once you've got the brand and concept and you've got the ethos, which is really important. So you have a tribal, and I mean that in the nicest of ways, this is what I learned from the Middle East, the tribal mentality to say, these are our beliefs, this is our tribe, this is our gang. Does that sound strange? And actually, we just exist within that box of tricks, but we do different styles of food. But the great thing is, within the most of the catering operations, you're waiting for a lorry to arrive. Well, you are in Morrison's a bit, but I can walk over there now and grab some chives, or I can get some so-and-sos. The whole room is about food. I could see an allotment being built in the middle of it.
Yes, yeah.
And I'm not joking about the allotment, by the way, but you begin to think it's all about the food makers. And
I'm going to use the E word on you now, efficiency. Obviously, if you look at, I look at a lot of operations, a lot of retailers will be very, very worried about pushing too hard and too fast into food and hot food prepared on site because of efficiency, worrying about wastage and that kind of thing. It's obviously something which our industry tries to really keep a tight handle on. How do you manage that How do you manage that to make it work, John? Because I know this is an efficient. It struck me that the Morrison's store was very efficient in this respect.
Well, I would, if I'm being tough, and I spent a lot of time wandering around supermarkets, and since I worked for Morrison's, I spent an eternity walking around, looking at them, and why is that there, and that's a so-and-so and whatever. But I was in a supermarket recently that had cages full of food that was out of date, that was going to get thrown out. So what I'm saying is, within a nice way, the supermarket model with food needs to rethink the bit to say we can save on that and we can reinvest in that. Now, what I would say is that the Morrison's model is obviously about labour within reason, isn't it? And it's about freshness, and it's about I want it now. Some of the other supermarkets probably make it in a central production unit or have 2 giant factories. You need to control your costs, but it's about great products. And if you don't produce great products, you're going to get found out.